Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by TheLines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we've got some NBA player props here to kick off the work week on Monday night for you guys. Nice and early here on Sunday night as we go ahead and get ahead of these lines with you. Also want to make sure you subscribe to that page. Check out the best bets we have with some sides and totals looks for you, and we're bringing both those videos to you each and every day this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into your first player prop here for Monday night.
Yeah, I think we can exploit the Pelicans being shorthanded here yet again. DeJounte Murray sucks out for the season. And we just saw Trey Murphy really step into a huge role as like an alpha on Friday. But I'm going with CJ McCollum to get 4.5 assists, which is still projected. I mean, you saw the 3.5 up at super juiced. So I think you're probably going to get a better number for the 5 dimes. Also, just fine with Zion at 22.5 points where that opened against this Denver team that, I mean, they're minus 14, but do you really trust their defense to like put anybody away right now? Like they're just so vulnerable everywhere, particularly against like lead ball handlers who can cook like CJ can. I mean, last meeting, he goes for 24, 6, and 9. DeJounte had 15 dimes in that game. So obviously a lot more in terms of the potential assists to go around. Denver is the team that allows the most assists, highest assist to field goal ratio. They have no rim protection. So that enter Zion going right to the rim there. And the worst above the break 3D in the last 5. So CJ will be able to burn them from the perimeter a little bit, get inside. I mean, he was averaging 16 with Zion versus 24 without him. So you think like, oh, his usage is going to fall off, but like we just don't have this iteration of the team to go off. And in 3 of the last 4 with Zion active, CJ is over in terms of points plus assists, over in 3 of his last 4, 20 points per game, 4.5 dimes, 28% usage. So he knows how to play alongside this dude. I mean, he's as crafty as anybody. And I think Trey Murphy gets the extra attention, gets the better defender in terms of more Aaron Gordon, and Zion's able to just kind of like roll past Joker, who's like, all right, whatever, we're going to score 130 on the other end, and we get plenty of points to go around in this one.
Yeah, for sure. Love Zion in this one. CJ too. I mean, honestly, like both of them, whatever. I think that's what we're looking at now. I mean, Trey Murphy's probably going to score a bunch. Zion's going to get a bunch too. I do think CJ does a bit more of the facilitating at this point. It's tough to tell with Zion too, because I mean his assists are at 4.5, and not too bad there either, to be honest. But don't need to mess around. They're both going to lead the team in touches at this point alongside Trey Murphy. We still have Jordan Hawkins questionable. It's sad times in New Orleans for sure. But one thing we know for Zion is like he's not playing based on how the game is going. He's playing 28 minutes, end of story, close the book. The man's scoring a point a minute. Like he's averaging a point a minute. So just that's where we're at here. I don't care about him playing more or less. He's going to play 28. We know that. He's not going to play back-to-backs. He's going to play 28. This is the strict diet that they have him on. So let me go over to just a world beater of a game here, the Hornets and the Wizards. But there's one bet that I like in this game. It's Miles Bridges to go over 7.5 boards. That's opening up at 7.5 for like pretty bad juice, but I would take this at 8.5, to be honest, if you can get it. That's all you can get here on Monday when you're watching this. Without LaMelo this season, he's played 8 games. He's gone over in 7 of 8 and played and gotten 10 boards. Part of the reasoning that I do think that's important is the minutes more than anything, and then the rotations. He's down low playing free safety on defense because they're just letting him go down there and basically just stand on the baseline as they play a sort of makeshift zone with Mark Williams just guarding whoever the other center is if it's a good offensive center. It's just bad. I'm really sad to say that I've even watched this much Charlotte Hornets, but with Miles Bridges out there, like he's the guy at this point, and it's the Wizards, man. He only went under in one of those games with LaMelo because he played 29 minutes and he still had 7 boards versus Philly. In those games too, he had 8 in every single one of them in terms of the rebounds, or 7, in every single one of them. So yeah, we're good with that. Washington's dead last limiting rebounds. They allow the most rebounds to power forwards. He went over in both the games versus Washington this season with LaMelo playing in one of those and had 8 in that one. Then the game without him, he had 14 rebounds, and a lot of those rebounds that he's getting are because they're allowing him to get out into transition. They want him leading the break at that point. So Vaja Micic also questionable after he went down with a nasty ankle thing. So like you want to take some assists for Bridges. He's the only guy on the court that I trust at all on either team at this point, to be honest. And Mark will as well, obviously. Like, so just take guys that are big against the Wizards, and they're going to get boards and they're going to get points.
Yeah, I mean, just given the state of this Hornets injury report, I think you can go with the guys who are actually going to be out there. Like, yeah, I'm taking Mark Williams over 18.5 points because I think if they sit him, they're going to sit him. But like, I don't think they're going to yank him after like a certain amount of minutes and not.
No.
And you know, just be like, we're gonna out tank the Wizards. The Wizards,
right.
you can't win that game. Like they
right.
they
like Mark Williams could have 3 fouls in the first quarter. They're gonna let him go. Like, what's the worst that happens? They fall out of second to last place. Yeah. So.
Right. And if Micic can't go, I mean, I guess that could be a concern because like I think he pairs a lot better in terms of setting him up, but I mean the usage should just be very, very high in general. Then if you have no point guard whatsoever. I mean, we got a 26% usage rate in his against the Joker without LaMelo, and Mark gets 20 points there. He's averaging nearly 17 points per game on paint touches alone in his last 8 appearances, shooting 62% on those. And now you get the worst rim D in the league in the Wizards. Worst rim D got worser in January, allowed 76% at the rim instead of 72%. Of course, they allow the most points, second most rebounds to centers. And in just 19 minutes, Mark Will got to 16 points against this team. And as we know, he's been to the moon without Nick Richards. It's kind of been up and down in terms of like, yeah, how much is he going to be asked to do? But we know he has a bag, and certainly no Alex Sarr and Joe Val or maybe whoever else the Wizards are going to throw out there is just not going to bother him, considering the types of teams that he has dropped 20 plus on.
Yeah. No, I mean, for Mark Will at this point, like just book him for the amount of time that he can stay on the floor without getting fouls, but they don't even have a backup center. So not like they're trying to field a normal team, but yeah, he does need someone to give him the ball. But to be honest, like, well, this is going to be an easy time. You don't really need to know how to make an entry pass even against the Wizards. So Isaiah Wong, KJ Simpson, whatever, just pass the ball and move around the 3-point line and get away from him. He'll be fine. So yeah, I'm fine with this. I like the points better than the rebounds too. Although I will say, I bet a lot of those points come off of putbacks and tip-ins, so I'm not scared of the boards myself. Looking at this Pacers game that you like the Pacers to cover 6 against the Jazz, I would agree. The Jazz done messed up by winning their last game by playing everybody. They thought that they could go out and that they were going to play a good enough squad to lose, and that wasn't the case. They still pulled out the victory, but they are going to be playing their guys in this one, and that's fine. Like I hope it is within 20 points in the third quarter, so we don't lose Halliburton minutes and we can keep him up at around 30, 32. So either way, 8.5 dimes for him. That should still be there in the morning. That's most books are hanging that. This is him going up against a bad team limiting assists. And when he's played against other fast teams that are terrible at limiting assists, he does very, very well. He's at 8.7 on the season now, which is up from like 7.2 when he started it in the first like 12, 13 games, but when he didn't look anything like himself. But with everybody out on the floor too, he's averaging about 9.8 assists per 36 minutes when he's playing with Benny Matz and Aaron Nesmith. Well, not even Aaron Nesmith. Nembhard is when I was trying to I always mess those two up, Nembhard and Nesmith. So yeah, when he's out there with Nembhard and Benny Mathurin, both healthy for this game, 9.8 per 36, including with the other guys as well, Pascal and Miles Turner. Against teams this season that suck at limiting assists, which the Jazz very much so do, they are fifth. They allow the 5th most assists per game, the 2nd most to point guards on the season, versus teams that are in the bottom 10 limiting assists. He's played 15 games this season, averaging 9.8 as well assists per game in those games. Over in 10 of 15, he had 8 plus in 14 of the 15. So almost all of them, he got at least 8. I mean, if you wanted to add 8 plus assists for him to something great, like I think you just take the 8.5 and even like maybe a small ladder to 10 in this one, because there's going to be a lot of guys wide open in transition. That's a big thing too. This Jazz team is dead last in transition. And when Tyrese is playing those fast-paced teams, like I said, who are not good at getting back in transition, this is another good moment and opportunity for him to get some looks and lobs at the rim, etc. So really like the dimes, not scared of the points. Jazz are a terrible defense against guards in general, so do what you will with it.
Yeah, I mean, makes sense because they're trotting out a couple of rookies basically, right? And Collier and Keontae George, and then Sexton, who's never really been known for his defense in that area. I mean, as I pointed out, yeah, they're above the break. 3-point defense is horrendous. They are dead last forcing turnovers. So Hallie, yeah, ladder this. I think, yeah, take the 10, go higher if you want, or parlay it with the Pacers win, because yeah, he's going to be the engine here, and the Pacers machine's going to keep rolling.
Yeah, I agree with that. I love the way they look. So that's all the time we have for you in this one. Definitely make sure to subscribe to that page. Check out the Best Bets episode as well. And until we see you next, happy betting.